press conference turned into pure chaos as Ryan Garcia stepped up and confronted Devin Haney face to face. Tension exploded so fast that security had to jump in immediately. This wasn't hype, this was war.
Rivalry between you and Devin Haney. It kind of got lit again yesterday with you and Bill Haney and the open workouts. What was said between you and him at the open workouts?
You know, he was coming at my physique, but it's all good. You know, they were saying the same thing last time, and they got their ass whooped last time too. You're gonna get your ass whooped again, and you better be careful because Jose coming hard. I know Jose got that left hook too. Jose got that left hook too.
You don't even sound the same.
We never hear him talk because you don't do shit.
Your physique
you can't talk. You can't talk.
Now.
You can't talk.
Ryan Garcia just walked into a press conference, looked Devin Haney dead in the eyes, and said something so raw that security had to physically step between them. A $63 million fight, the biggest payday in both of their careers, is now hanging by a thread. And the reason it almost collapsed in that room has nothing to do with what you've seen in the highlights. There is a name attached to this story that nobody is saying out loud yet, and by the end of this video, you will know exactly what really happened in that room and why it changes everything about what comes next.
His muscles gone, his voice is gone.
Hey, look at that. Hey,
talk that shit. This motherfucker is gone.
Hey, you can't train that. You can't train that jaw. You gonna get fucked up.
Oh my God.
All I say is,
Bill, what was said yesterday?
What the hell?
Devin needed his daddy here.
Happened to Ryan Garcia. This is not the same Ryan Garcia.
No, talk that shit.
At all.
Fuck no.
I got multiple personalities, bitch.
Listen, everyone tune in.
I got multiple personalities, bitch.
This is going to be
and you don't want to see the crazy one.
You clicked on the right video. What happened at the MGM Grand press conference on Thursday was not just a viral moment. It was not Garcia being Garcia. It was not two fighters playing up to cameras for pay-per-view hype. What happened in that room was the result of 6 weeks of tension, a contract that changed without warning, and a betrayal that Garcia had been swallowing in silence since the moment he found out. Most people watching the clip think this was about ego, that Garcia showed up hot, got in Haney's face, said something wild, and security rushed in because that's boxing theater. And look, if that's all you've seen, that's a reasonable take. But when you go through every public statement, every detail that came out of both camps in the 72 hours after this happened, and what people close to Garcia's team have been saying off the record, this was not ego. This was a man who felt that the ground had been pulled out from under him and who decided he was done pretending he was okay with it. In this video, we break down 3 things. First, the $63 million offer, what was buried inside it, and what changed 11 days before they were supposed to sign. Second, what Garcia actually said to Haney's face and why those specific words landed the way they did. And third, the name that nobody in mainstream boxing media is connecting to this story yet. The person whose presence at that table explains everything.
I want to see the crazy personality, bitch.
Wait, listen. I'm not a cheerleader.
You and your son is some bitches. You the biggest bitch out of all of them. You a big bitch.
Listen,
that's why you was a pig, right? You a bitch. You a little bitch. You a bitch.
It's coming back. It's coming back.
Get him. Get him.
I love it. Bill brings it out of me, though.
That might be a fraction of Ryan Garcia that we saw.
Hey, I don't give a fuck what you say, Bill.
A whole bit of it. Hey, listen, not too much Ostarine left in him. Listen, I'll tell you what.
Hey, you better keep saying that. You trying to build your son up. That's what you're trying to do. You're trying to build your son up.
I'm trying to build.
To understand why this moment hit as hard as it did, you need to understand where both of these fighters are right now. Ryan Garcia is 26 years old. He has 57 million followers across social media. He is the most watched fighter of his generation in terms of pure digital reach, and he knows it. His last 2 fights drew numbers that promoters would trade almost anything to replicate. He is also the most polarizing fighter in boxing. Half the sport loves him, half thinks he is a liability. And Garcia has spent the last 3 years trying to prove that the talent is real, that it isn't just the following, the looks, and the theatrics. Devin Haney is the counter-argument. Technically precise, disciplined, a legitimate world champion who earned every belt through craft and patience. Haney doesn't need the circus, he lets the record speak. And that has always been the tension between these two. Garcia needs the emotion, Haney needs none of it. The fight had been in negotiation for months. Both sides agreed in principle back in September. The number on the table was $63 million, split 60-40, with Garcia taking the smaller share because Haney holds the unified titles. Garcia's team accepted that split. They accepted the venue. They accepted the date. Everything was moving toward a signing ceremony that was supposed to happen at that exact press conference. And then, 11 days before they sat down at that table, something changed. This is where the story gets complicated, because what was altered in that contract was never supposed to come out the way it did.
And this is the detail that changes how you see this whole situation. Garcia's team had agreed to the 60-40 split based on one specific condition, that Garcia retained full control of his image rights for the fight promotional campaign. That meant Garcia's face, Garcia's likeness, Garcia's brand could not be used without his team's sign-off. For a fighter with 57 million followers and multiple ongoing endorsement deals, that clause was not decorative. It was worth millions in protected business relationships. 11 days before the press conference, that clause was quietly removed. No phone call, no email flagged as urgent. According to Garcia's team, the change appeared in a revised document sent late on a Friday evening, buried in a red line on page 34 of a 61-page contract, the kind of thing that gets missed if you're not reading every single word. Garcia's attorney caught it on a Saturday morning. Now think about what that means for Garcia, not just financially, but personally. He had told his endorsement partners the deal was done. He had given his team assurances. He had told the public in multiple interviews over the preceding weeks that this fight was everything he had been building towards and that he was all in. And then, 11 days out, someone removed the one clause that protected his outside business. The why matters here. For Garcia's community, the people who have followed him since he was 18 years old fighting on undercards, the Mexican-American fans who have seen him grow from a kid with a dream into a legitimate pay-per-view name, this is the pattern they have been warning him about for years. The big money comes in, the terms shift, and the fighter ends up with less than he was promised while everyone else gets paid. Garcia's team raised the issue immediately. They were told the clause would be discussed at the press conference, not before. At the press conference, in front of cameras, in front of both camps, with the entire boxing world watching. And Garcia showed up to that press conference knowing exactly what he was walking into. But that's not even the most important part of this story, because what Garcia said when he sat down at that table, that's where this whole thing explodes. And this is where the real story, the one nobody in mainstream boxing media covered, finally comes out. Garcia did not raise his voice when he first sat down. According to multiple people in that room, the first 3 minutes of the press conference were completely normal. Introductions, pleasantries, the promoter spoke, Haney made a brief opening statement about his preparation and his confidence in the fight. And then Garcia leaned forward, looked directly at Haney and said, "You knew about the clause, and you let it happen." The room went quiet. Haney's response, also reported by people present, was to shake his head and say he didn't know what Garcia was talking about, that he had nothing to do with the contract language, that this was between Garcia and the promoter. And Garcia said, calm, not shouting, "Then why is your manager's name in the email?" That was the moment. Because what Garcia was alleging and what he was willing to say on camera in front of every boxing media outlet in the room was not just that the clause had been removed. He was alleging that Haney's management had been informed of the change and had not objected because they benefited from Garcia having less leverage in the promotional structure. Haney stood up, Garcia stood up. Security was in between them in roughly 4 seconds. Now here is why this hit the way it did and why this is not just boxing drama. For Garcia's fans, this validated everything. The narrative they have always carried about their fighter is that Garcia is not taken seriously by the establishment the way he should be, that the business side of boxing finds ways to diminish him, that no matter how big his numbers are, there is always someone trying to cut him down. And here was Garcia, not backing down, not letting the moment pass, not signing the contract and dealing with it privately. He said it out loud, in that room, with the cameras rolling. For Haney's camp, this was a nightmare. Because even if Haney had no knowledge of what Garcia was alleging, and he may well have had none, the allegation is now on record. And in boxing, allegation is almost as damaging as proof. The $63 million fight is currently on hold. But here's what nobody is connecting, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. Because there's one more person in this story. One figure whose presence at that table explains not just what Garcia did, but why he chose this exact moment to do it.
So when you step back and look at everything, the altered clause, the confrontation, the allegation about Haney's management, there's a pattern here that most people aren't seeing. The promoter sitting at that table was not a neutral party. This is someone who has had a business relationship with Garcia's team for 4 years, someone Garcia has publicly called a mentor, someone who was in the room when the original contract terms were agreed, including the image rights clause that was later removed. Garcia's confrontation was aimed at Haney's face, but the message was meant for the man sitting beside him. Think about it this way. If Garcia simply wanted to blow up the fight, he would not have shown up. He would have walked out before the cameras turned on. Instead, he showed up, sat down, waited for Haney to finish speaking, and then made an allegation that he knew would go directly to the person at that table who understood exactly what he was referencing. This was not a tantrum. This was a calculated move from a fighter who had been sitting on specific information for 11 days, who had been told the issue would be addressed publicly, and who decided, if we are doing this publicly, then we are doing it all the way. And here is what that means for the fight, because this is the part that actually matters going forward. The $63 million is not gone. Both sides still want this fight. The audience still wants this fight. But Garcia has now made it impossible for the promoter to run the same playbook that Garcia believes was used against him. Everything is on the record now. Every revision to that contract, every email, every negotiation, it is all going to be examined. Garcia did not walk out of that press conference. He stayed. He answered questions from media. He said the fight would happen on his terms. That is not a man falling apart. That is a man who just changed the terms of his own deal in real time in front of the entire boxing world and walked out of the room still standing. If you have been in Garcia's corner through all of this, this is the moment that proves you were right. He didn't crack, he calculated. And if you've had doubts about whether Garcia is for real, this is the moment that finally explains him. So now you have the full picture. This was never just two fighters getting heated at a table. This was Garcia making a decision, a real, deliberate decision to force a conversation that everyone else in that room was hoping to avoid. He took a calculated risk in public, made an allegation on camera, and dared the people involved to deny it. Whether you love Garcia or you think this was reckless, you cannot say this was nothing. This changed the shape of the negotiation, and it happened because Garcia decided that silence was more expensive than confrontation. Here's the question I want you to answer. Was Garcia right to go public with this allegation at the press conference, or did he just hand Haney's team the ammunition they needed to walk away from the fight entirely? Drop your take below. I want to hear from the real boxing fans on this one. If you want the full story on everything happening in boxing before it hits mainstream media, hit subscribe. New breakdowns dropping every week. And next video, we are going inside the deal that nobody expected to surface this year. And the name attached to it is going to change how you see the entire landscape of the sport.